How's it going, guys? It's Cole from See-Through Panel showing off Locke Key, The Golden Age hardcover, written by Joe Hill, art by Gabriel Rodriguez, colors by J Photos, published by IDW, and retailing for $30 US. I assume this is still in print. It's not old, but it's not brand new either. It's like a year or two old, I think. I haven't read Locke and Key for years. Okay, first let's do the whole spiel. If you haven't read this book, I'm going to be spoiling it very lightly. I'll try and be light, but also I really want to talk about it, so I'm going to say some stuff that might be considered spoilers. Also, if you hear some background sound, that's my dog. Here we go. I'm really excited to talk about this book. Because I haven't, there's the dog, made a video in a while, and I want to talk about comics, and B, also too, Locke and Key is something that I really adored when I first read it. I've read through it multiple times. I read through it twice in a year, and it's been like 4 or 5 years since then. And this is kind of me jumping back into the world of Locke and Key, and it is spectacular. So you can probably see this guy here. We'll talk about him in a minute. So this is Locke and Key, The Golden Age, which is kind of a segue into their new story arc they said they want to make. Joe Hill said eventually he's going to make, or he wants to make, World War Key or something along those lines. We'll see if that ever happens, but for now we get this nice kind of like flash backward in time to the Locke family. So before I get too deep, this is a nice hardcover matte finish with spot varnish on it, as you can see there, and on the lettering. Ribbon bookmark, which is nice. Binding wise, let's see if we can. I mean, I'm out of practice looking at bindings. Let's hold on. I think it's sewn, but it's been so long since I cared about that. I know I should, but I've kind of like over the course of the last year or so fallen into the more casual reader. I just read stuff to enjoy it rather than like be super anal about my books, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, we open with Small World, which is we have a series of one-shots here and then two 3-issue story arcs. So, and they all are kind of tied into each other. So the one-shots do feed into the story arcs. This is kind of one big story that's in nice little bite-sized chunks. And we are in the early 1900s, around World War I. I'm not going to guesstimate the exact year. And we have the Locke family, one that we're not familiar with, the ancestors of the Locke family from the original series. So we have Fiona Ingrid Locke, John Tyler Locke, Ian Ulysses, Morse Walton, Gene Thompson, and Mary and Harlan Benjamin. So whole new characters. You probably don't recognize a single one. Doesn't matter. You get to know them. You learn to love them in this series. As always, Gabriel Rodriguez is looking incredible. I think there's 2 reasons why I think he looks so much better than he did on the original series. One, I think he's just developed as an artist. Let me get a nice close-up shot. I think he's just developed as an artist and become even more detailed than he used to be. But B, I think I'm gonna continue the trend. 1 and B. I think J Photos as a colorist has come a long way. Let me make sure he colors every single one of these. Yeah, I mean, it would be obvious by looking at it, but he's come a long way in terms of how polished and professional looking his coloring is. I think that in the original series, Rodriguez had a chunkier line. He used a lot more ink. He didn't have all these very, very detailed forms on the page, but also Photos was using a lot of less, how do I want to say this, nuanced ways of coloring. I'm not a professional, and I have never colored a comic. I've never colored art. The closest I've come is a coloring book, but I think that his coloring has improved just in the tones of the things, his actual choices for the colors, and just the clarity of the book. Everything looked super dark in the first series. I think that's half to do with Rodriguez using more ink and half to do with Photos using like really muddy colors. And I loved that series. I'm not talking trash on it at all, but this book is so beautiful. It's gorgeous. Here is a spider getting killed, which I derive a lot of pleasure from. I hate spiders. And here is a cat using the magical dollhouse to smush the giant spider and looking really casual about it. So yeah, that's the first. I'm really just gonna be talking about the series as a whole and my thoughts as I flip through it. If you're not familiar with this, the interesting thing is, I think this issue looks more like the first series. Let me see if I can find a good example. Maybe it's just the way he does darkness, and in this first issue, everything's very light. Like, you're not seeing these, like, spotted blacks right here and these shadows. I think it just is how he does shadows. Maybe there's just a lot more darkness and shadow and night kind of setting in the first. I'm not sure. But you notice you never see this in that first issue. And me, as a reader and an enjoyer of comic art, the less ink... Okay, I won't say the less ink the better, but in general, the more exceptionally detailed and the more lines on the page, I'm probably going to like it more. So that style is definitely more my thing. This is more what I'm... Even just the lines look chunkier. From this picture here, I know it's not the exact same image, but just a little less, a little thicker of lines, I think. But this still is just gorgeous. This issue is, I mean, this whole book is incredibly sad. But it's like, got that sweet ending. I mean, it'll make you cry. I did cry after this issue specifically. This is a Nemo reference, I think. I need to cover the Nemo book I have sometime. But you can see, this is one of my favorite things. As we're shifting to the Nemo kind of atmosphere and aesthetic, the page goes from white and it yellows, and the panel goes from regular Rodriguez to emulation of the style Rodriguez. And I'm a bad comic content creator because I don't remember who... Oh man, I don't know. I don't know who drew Nemo, I'm sorry. But, as you can see here, style has completely changed. We're using much different coloring from Jay. Like, much more like pastel type colors. And everything looks super clean. I'm not talking about the line work, I'm talking about in the setting. Like, everything is spotless and more cartoony, and he's sticking cartoon-esque spyglasses out of circular panels in the top corner looking down on people. I mean, it's just awesome. It's like a trip through time, a trip through the world in the time of this book. And just sickly sweet in a good way. Family reunion type deal. And I adored it. Face the Music, really short interlude. It's like a 3-pager. I won't say much about that. This is the real meat of the book here. In Pale Battalions Go is the first 3-issue story of the book. And so it is one of the Locke family's sons, who is probably around 16 or 15, wants to go to World War I. He's Canadian, but he goes down to America. And, or maybe Britain, I don't even know, it doesn't matter. He wants to go join World War I, and he gets declined, so he ends up hypnotizing his mother with one of the keys to convince their father to kind of like pull him away to distract him. So while he's gone, the son takes all of the most powerful keys and goes to World War I. He says, "I hope I won't come through too far from the action." And this is, I believe, the hardcover isn't broken up into issues. I think this is where issue 2 would start here. And this is where we're getting, like, action-packed war Locke and Key, which we've never seen. It's just something that's completely different. The uses for these keys change a lot when you go from, like, a horror environment to a war environment. The destructive force of these things is a lot different. Here's German officers seeing him feet away from their camp. I love that pose. And this is a kid who is realistically 15, but has aged himself up with one of the keys to look like an adult man, who's now been exposed to war probably for at least a few weeks, if not a few months, and starts just... There's a time skip, obviously, and he just tears apart these Germans. And it is just ridiculously detailed. I mean, yeah, it's next level. Definitely this series would be my favorite, the Impale Battalions Go. And then the series to follow. The one-shots are great, but I thought I on the whole prefer a one-shot when I want to sit down and read. But, God, these 3-issue series are just something else. Almost Jeff Darrow-like. Almost Jeff Darrow-like, actually. With the amount of detail. Not necessarily like the tone or the line, but... No, maybe a little bit of the line, even. Yeah, if you think this is a detailed book, check out Shaolin Cowboy. Yeah, so this has a horribly hellish, sad ending. But we go into a time skip and get into Helen Gone, which is the final story of the book, where, as you can see, our father character has gotten a lot older. And the blonde daughter, I think it was Mary, is now an adult woman. And is trying to set some things right that happened in the previous issues. And this is where we get our Sandman crossover, which is something I didn't know I needed, and I don't know that I needed it still, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. This is set right before, maybe not right before, a year or two, a couple years before the beginning of Sandman. So we get to see a lot of those early characters. Like, here's Dream in his prison. Rendered, I dare say, the best he's ever been rendered. I can't tell if that's a spot on my book or the art, but God, maybe some of the stuff I've seen from J.H. Williams would be better than this, but I don't even know if that's true. I'm trying to look at... Here. You know what? I want to really quickly pull out Overture. We're competing here. We're not competing for best Sandman art to ever exist. You know what? No, we're not. Actually, I just remembered. My favorite panel of Dream in Overture. Yeah, this is my favorite. I'm just going to say that. This is my favorite rendition of Dream ever, and he barely appears. This is all he appears in, so that's the last you're going to see of him, I believe. But yeah, just a really fun romp through the world of Sandman, covering a lot of the ground that Neil Gaiman built, a lot of the world, the Corinthian, Cain and Abel, pretty much every character you're planning on seeing. Lucifer's in here, Etrigan. I know he didn't make them, but yeah, it's just gorgeous. It is a very harrowing journey for Mary and for the whole family, and it has an amazing, amazing ending. Joe Hill really did his work, his research, to make this the perfect Sandman crossover, to be as respectful and true to the Sandman proper world, the canon, as possible, and it shows. Also, it seems like Rodriguez just draws God, why can't I think of their name? Dream and his relatives, like not Eternals, that's Marvel. The Endless, Jesus. The Endless. Seems like he draws them like this. This reminds me of J.H. Williams mixing styles in that horizontal book I can't remember anything today. Maybe it's on my shelf right here. No, it's not. Oh well. But it reminds me of the way he mixed styles, just the like super clashing with the environment. But yeah, it's God, it's such a great book. I went on a lot of tirades. If you made it this far, thank you. I haven't done one of these in a while, and I'm clearly very rusty. Awesome covers. There's JH doing it. Okay, I didn't even notice that. He does a lot of them. Wow. But yeah, this was incredible. If you haven't read Locke and Key, maybe you saw the show, but you never read the book. God, I think the book is just incredible. I personally never saw the show, so I won't comment on the quality of that. I just know that the original story is phenomenal and one of my favorite books I've read since getting into comics. One of my favorite series, I should say. Joe Hill is a phenomenal writer. I know I didn't talk a lot about the story, but I don't want to spoil things. Just know I think he's a master of structure and really, really emotionally compelling characters that make you just really get invested in their lives wholly, whether they're having a sweet moment or whether they're being attacked by horrible monsters. I think Joe Hill is just a master, and I wish he did more work with Locke and Key, but he's a busy man. It is what it is. He works in different mediums. And yeah, I love this book very much. I got this out for no reason. This is a great book too, but it has nothing to do with this. I just got carried away. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, guys. There'll be a haul video either late this week or early next week. Peace.